So Arthur, I would like you to please explain the ambiguity relief process, because this is something we'd like people to realize. And as you talked about in the beginning, this really affects the functionality and high performing teams. So we have the graphic as well. This is your graphic as well. So could you please give us a little bit more of that? Okay.
So this is basically just kind of a description of the different parts of the brain that all of this stuff happens in. Okay, so one of the things where clarity is not just a single place. It's not like, oh, you're clear in this thing. Clarity happens in multiple parts of the brain. So the prefrontal cortex, where you're basically reasoning, and for those of you that have heard of the right brain, left brain stuff, it's all bullshit. So don't go regress into old myths. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for reason, and that includes also creativity and various factors. So the creative elements come partially from the prefrontal cortex, as well as logic and inhibition, reason, all kinds of things. So I mean, the prefrontal cortex is also what keeps you from jumping up on the table, taking off your clothes, and dancing in front of a lot of people. Okay, if you do it in private, well, nobody's looking, so it's okay. When in the prefrontal cortex, one of the key things is going to be whether you have an abstract way of getting clarity or a concrete way of getting clarity. So that's really one of the elements that determines part of your colored brain, is whether it's going to be more on the abstract side or if it's going to be more on the concrete side. So this is determined again by specific neurotransmitters. If just briefly, it's dopamine and norepinephrine, and the amounts of these neurotransmitters are going to affect that. Now, the other one is going to be in your hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is where long-term memory is stored. So if you're talking about learning processes and things like this, well, of course, most of you know that you do need to have clarity, and the more clear you are, the easier it is to retain something, right? The easier it is to remember something. So anything that you've had some extreme clarity on in the past goes into your long-term memory. And if you combine that with emotion, so emotion plus clarity, it like stays with you forever. Sometimes it's like bad things that happen, which kind of sucks, and you still remember them when you even know you want to get rid of them. But most of the time, I mean, it's like important, good things, okay? So the element of the, or within the hippocampus, okay, is going to be related to connectivity, all right? So how everything kind of connects with each other. So the more connected it is, then it's a less active process to get clarity. So for example, green brains and red brains, okay, chaotic process and linear process, green and red, are active processes. That means that they have to do something in order to get clarity. So an external factor, something that has some kind of action needs to be taken in order to get clarity. In green brain case, it's an actual action, while in the red brain case, it's an actual finding or creation of structure. Okay, well, for example, the blue brain and the purple brain, everything is kind of already connected. So simply by just absorbing what's going on, absorbing information or absorbing the surroundings or whatever, that it's already connected. So they just kind of get this clarity, and it appears to them that it's just like there, right? It's obvious. Okay, but to say, for example, a green brain, it doesn't work that way. So that's why, for example, the purple brain, the more information they have, it just automatically connects, and suddenly it's like, I have option 1, option 2, option 3, so they can see clear options, right? And then they can just choose whatever option they think is the best one based on that, okay? And then, of course, the final one is speed. Speed is very important. So remember that if you're a very fast processor, it's kind of like a Ferrari going down the highway at 200 kilometers per hour. It's not like you're going to go and, oh, look, there's a flower, okay? Because then you'll probably get into a wreck, okay? While on the other hand, the slower processors, you know, can go around, can see all of the little details and everything that happens. So you'll find that speed of processing does have an effect on how you get clarity. Okay, so that's and that's in the cingulate cortex. Okay, and the cingulate cortex is right in between your limbic brain and your cognitive brain. So it's just kind of the conduit in between. Limbic meaning emotion, active, you know, being able to, you know, motor skills, things like this, including, of course, long-term memory, and the cognitive being the things that make you reason as well as interpret and understand what you hear and see.
Yeah. Okay. So lots of stuff. So we have some slides, Arthur, as well. That, you know, how you do the colored brain and how you could combine all your team. I think we could show that, so that would be better. You know, people understand. Sure. So yeah. So this is a high performance team, right? We have high performance on the one side and low performance on the other side. And just to point out, a poor culture, if you have 100 people working, you only get the output of 68 people. So you're wasting about 30%, you know, output. So that's something really sad, you know. So you're losing revenue and you're, you know, creating so much conflict. But if you have a good culture, you know, that wouldn't be a blame culture. That would be a self-empowerment culture. And in those teams, you could have a 50% jump in productivity. So that's really something.
Ahsen, you might want to let them know that is based on a study we did in 2007. So it's a little bit old, but the study is, you know, still good. We did the study with 70 different organizations of between 600 to 1,000 people.
Oh wow! Okay, so these are established facts, you know, and this is based on the organizational cultural thing, and, you know, the blame culture. You get rid of that and all those things. So a little bit about the cultural change. Arthur, could you tell us about high performance teams? You know, because you're looking for in an organizational culture that is supportive, you're looking for high performance team. So how does that thing relate to the cultural change? And, you know, because definitely you have a poor culture once you have unsupportive teams. So
okay, so here's the thing. Okay, you know, how many of you guys like pizza? You guys like pizza? Just type yes if you like.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So if you like pizza, okay. Type yes. All right. Okay. All right. Now, let's say, for example, now how many of you like chocolate ice cream? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you like chocolate ice cream, also type yes. Okay. So now both of these, pizza and chocolate ice cream, would be considered high performers in the food world. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what about pepperoni pizza with chocolate ice cream on top?
No.
Probably not so good, right? No. Same thing with teams. You can have high performers that by themselves or in one specific group are going to be awesome. And then you put them together with somebody else and the entire team falls apart. Okay. This is a predictable model. Okay, using colored brain plus the emotional drive model, we can literally predict who and why specific individuals could be moved or added to a team, removed or added to a team, and you can literally create a high performance team. Okay.
Wow.
So a lot of it is related to the mix of the people within the team. So having the awareness of colored brain, having the awareness of emotional drives, which is another model, all of these things are definitely going to support. Okay. We have a tool called the management mirror that identifies what are called perception gaps. You know, sometimes you've got leaders that think, wow, you know, okay, in order to be a good leader, I need to be supportive. Okay, that makes sense, right? Okay, yeah. And you think you're being supportive, And the only problem is that all of your subordinates think you're a control freak, but they don't tell you because you're the manager and they don't want to, step over and get in trouble. So they just shut up and they don't say anything, right? Okay, so then you think you're still being supportive, but they don't, because they don't tell you anything. So you're not getting the feedback. Okay, but in reality, they just are just cringe when you come into the room because your way of being supportive is control freak to them. So the thing is, the problem is that a lot of times, like all these trainings that you go to, what they do is they try to get you to change your way of thinking. Okay, well, what if you don't have to change your way of thinking? If you already believe that supportive is a good way, it's not about your attitude, it is about your strategy that's not working. But unless you know what's not working, you can't implement it. So a lot of times people have a great attitude, but the wrong strategy. And that's where they go wrong. Okay, so and then you feel like, oh, you need to have training for this or something like this, and to improve your attitude and all of these things, and people go, but yeah, I'm already doing that, but they don't know that the strategy that they're using or their way of implementing that strategy doesn't have the effect that they think it's supposed to have, right? And this is why this management mirror, it's a 360 degree assessment, is essential for improving that element and getting people awareness of, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that people thought I was like this. Okay, so now you can fix your strategy and then basically be more true to the person that you want to become, right? Okay, so and all of this, of course, affects organizational culture, right? Because the mix of people that you have. I mean, example, when you are with your friends, you have a certain behavior, right? And when you're with your family, you have a different behavior. And when you're at work, you have a different behavior. And even when there's a different group of friends, you also have different behaviors. You're not purposely trying to behave differently. It's just that the groups bring out different facets of who you are. Understanding why that happens and how it happens is going to be a very powerful ability in order to essentially create environments or cultures that ultimately support high levels of success.
Wow. Now that's something really enlightening, So that's great. So we have some other slides as well. I'll just move over to other slides. So we have this colored brain team enhancing system. It starts off with, you take the colored brain test, and then you either green, and then you get your graph, all right, and then you could you study your report. So this is just for our participants, and then you could invite your friends, and you have this skull, that's the danger zone. I think, Arthur, I'm right. This is the danger zone, the skull.
Well, let me just kind of give you an idea.
Okay.
See, this
okay.
Separates colored brain from other tools. All right.
Okay.
Because it's it's not like something you take and you say, oh, I'm green brain, or oh, I'm red. Okay. And you tell everybody. What happens is that the entire team takes it. Okay, now, because the entire team takes it, everybody inside of that team is connected inside of the system. So they can see what brain color you are, they can see what brain color they are, what other people are, what the boss is, they can see everything. Okay, now the thing is that they can also see who's in their danger zone, people that they may have some issues communicating with. And the little skull and crossbones also indicates whose danger, like, for example, somebody's got a little skull and crossbones over their picture. That means, oh, I am in their danger zone. So they may have a problem communicating with my way of doing things, okay? So now, by understanding this, first of all, that gives you an opportunity to go and close the gaps, right? But the other thing is that sometimes, you get busy trying to remember all this stuff that you learned isn't going to be very helpful. So the system also gives you tips. So for example, let's say if you're in my colored brain team, and I click on your picture and on the section that says additional insights, I can go and and it'll tell me, for example, I can choose be more productive, right? So I can click on be more productive with you, and it'll tell me tips that I can specifically apply in order to be more productive with you. Okay, and I can do that with something else and different colors.
So it's different for different people, because if we're working in a team, so you would behave with me in a different way and with somebody else in a different way, because his colored brain is different and he reacts differently.
That's right. Yeah, and because of this, see, you actually have a quick and easy way to solve problems.
Wow. So there's another question which you talked about in my mind, was regarding if you have this high performing individual and he's in this team, he goes into a new team and suddenly his performance drops, it just drops. He becomes a mediocre or low performing person. But if you could regroup him and put him in another team, and then again he starts performing, why does it happen? Because it has happened with me a number of times in my life. I remember I worked in an organization and I was a high performer, and then I went to another, I was a low performer, a mediocre. But then once the group changed, and then I started excelling again. So how could I predict, or how could I change, or
Well, okay.
what could
first of all,
do?
Two factors. Factor number one is colored brain. Factor number two is emotional drive. Since the emotional drives, there's a lot to it. One of my latest book, called Game On: Reinventing Organizational Culture with Gamification, has a whole kind of list of like the different emotional drives. If you want the predictability model, that's in my book called Architects of Extraordinary Team Culture. So it's kind of a long thing, but let's just kind of go through the colored brain element. All right. So let's say you're a high performer and you're red-brained. Okay. So there are very specific things that you need to have, right? So you need to have some structure. As long as you have structure, then it becomes very easy for you to achieve the objectives that you want to achieve, right? Let's say in the new team, you've got somebody like me, green brain, right? And they just kind of say, hey, just do that, and they don't give you any structure or anything else. Now suddenly you're going to think that your boss is kind of like incompetent, but you're going to not really have what is required for you to succeed. Okay, and so therefore you've got you're so worried about like how your boss is not giving you what you want, that sometimes you end up blaming people, and then of course even if you don't blame them outwardly, you blame them inwardly, and then of course that causes disengagement, which also lowers your motivation, which basically creates an unsafe environment, because you feel that like you're not really able to achieve your level of success with this person. Okay, so remember, the mix does have an effect. Okay, and the emotional drives is basically about primary motivators. What are the primary things that motivate you? And different mixes of motivations are going to get you very different types of results. So, even though by yourself you may be great, but when you put yourself with this person, you may not be great. You put yourself with this person, you're even better. Okay, so it just depends on the mix. It's a recipe.
Okay, great. So, okay, now we've got this brain resist type of thing. It just tells us how green brains and purple brains and blue brains and red brains. So they have some good qualities and some bad. So green brain would be sometimes too impulsive, not careful, because that's how they operate. They operate in a chaotic fashion. With due apologies to Arthur. Okay, no offense, because it's just programmed. And then purple brain, sometimes they're too slow because they're collecting information and not expressive, because these people are good for research, and blue brain, they're too soft, not logical, because they're more of intuitive, they work in an intuitive way. And red brains, sometimes people like me, they are more concerned about the timing and the contents and that subject. So they would become rigid, and they would be more concerned about the timing and the actual content and the actual structure. So they wouldn't be really sensitive. So sometimes they could become insensitive. So the point of all this is basically to realize that human beings are different, and we need to be aware of this, because the process, we're all trying to go to the same destination, but the process is probably different for different people. The process is different for me, it's different for Arthur, different for Noman, different from Abu Bakr, it's different for everybody. So we need to be aware of that. And also, I think another point it would be micromanagement also doesn't work, because once you start micromanaging, you start interfering with the brain's processes. So if somebody could do it in a better way, I think we should honor that, and we should let him, be the way he wants and the way he wants to act. As long as he gives you the results, why should you bother? Which course does he take, or how does he take his journey? How does he set milestones? As long as you get the results. So I think it gives a bird's eye view. It gives a higher picture of how teams operate, and definitely it would help us. So all this is to promote greater understanding. So this is a beautiful slide. I love this slide. So these people, they know the colored brain of their team and see how they're supporting each other. The leader is supporting, and he's giving him a thumbs up, and he's pulling other people up, just trying to maybe create more synergy in their team and having high performance teams. So they are tolerant of each other's difficult areas, and also, also looking to help each other and maybe get the results as a team. Yeah, so it's a profound effect, but it's very simple to do and very simple, because you could apply it to your relationships, to your companies, and so it's a great tool. I've used it and I've had success, with my relationships and my company. So I am a testimony to this colored brain. It works. So with that, Arthur, I want your permission to end this webinar, because I want to follow the time. So thank you very much. You're all the way from Bali, and okay, take care and all the best.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.